Now we're outside, we're under the tent, we're ready to grill. Fish, I think a lot of people stay away from it because they're intimidated and they're afraid that they're going to ruin it.
Yep, and that's a big thing. A lot of people look at seafood like they look at chicken. You cook it for a long time and then you're ready to eat it, but by the time they sit down to eat it, it's overdone. One rule of cooking fish, and especially this is true for grilling, is you want to cook the fish for 10 minutes for every inch of thickness of the fish. So for instance, we have shrimp, swordfish, and salmon here. The shrimp is much smaller. That's not going to go 10 minutes. I might be putting all these on at the same time, but they'll be coming off at different times.
Okay, now Chef Bill, we have you here every week. You share your chef secrets, personal Chef Bill Collins, and we always love to get your tips because we can feel like a chef in our own kitchen.
Yes.
I think a lot of people do avoid grilling fish because it sticks, it flakes, it gets ruined, but it's a good thing to have in your diet. And I say that even though I don't eat it, I'm trying to, okay? I'm really trying, and I'm going to try that fish today.
Well, terrific, because that's the thing. A lot of people are afraid of cooking fish, whether it be indoors or outdoors. And outdoors especially because they see the grilling is being variable, too hot, not hot enough, and they just are afraid to try it. So I say try it, see what happens. The worst thing you can do is not try it. So what I like to do is tell people, start with a medium-high heat. If you're not sure what that means, medium hot is you can hold your hand over there for about 5 seconds or so. This is still a little bit warm, that's okay. The second piece of it is don't walk away. Don't sit down and watch another inning of the ball game. You want to hang around, because if you're talking about 10 minutes total time for an inch of fish, that's maybe less than 5 minutes per side.
Right, and that if you take your eyes off for a second, forget it, right?
Game over. Then you have to send out for pizza. So the first thing I'm going to do, however, has nothing to do with the fish. I've got some vegetables here, just a little balsamic vinegar, olive oil, salt and pepper. I've just thrown it on and swirled it around. I'm going to put that on first. Why? Because the vegetables actually take longer than the fish. You'd think vegetables cook quickly, and they do, but not as quick as fish.
Okay, now those are raw vegetables, and you just threw them around. How long did you marinate it in that?
About 14 minutes, but you can go as long as you want. You can go 4 seconds. You can throw it on, the grill is ready, and do that. So I've got two ways of doing this. One is I've got a grill basket here. Not everybody has a grill basket, so I've got the larger pieces of zucchini here I'm going to do as well. So the first thing is pop those in, and all that sizzling you hear is because I preheated the skillet, the pan. Now I'm going to just put the vegetables on.
What a great way to cook it. I think sometimes because zucchini and squash really does kind of shrivel up as you grill it.
Yes.
So it's nice to have it be a little bit a larger piece so that it doesn't get kind of soggy and shriveled.
Absolutely, and especially by just doing them that way, if you don't have a grill basket, you can take them off when they're ready, and when they're ready is up to you. If you want them still quite crunchy, just a little skim coat and a little grill marks on them, that's fine too.
And it's obviously the great flavor too. The grilled vegetables is so good. All right, so then that's a great thing to enjoy with your fish. Now that we've got the fish, you have shrimp, you have swordfish, and you have salmon.
Yes.
And I see that the shrimp is on skewers.
I've already skewered the shrimp. Now you can be very careful and turn them over, but it's so easy to drop them through the grate, especially with the flames are shooting up and you might be a little nervous if you haven't done it much. Just put them on a bamboo skewer. Now, a lot of times you might read to soak your skewers in water. That often works, not always. So if you find that they start to get either a little brown or flame a little bit and it goes out, no worries. So it's not you or the technique, it just sometimes works differently.
Okay.
The other thing is if you're doing a fish with skin on it, like salmon has the skin on the bottom, leave the skin on because that will help hold it together. But you want to start skin side up, just like this. Because what that's going to do is when you turn it over, you mentioned earlier how sometimes the fish sticks. If that sticks a bit, that's okay. Just the skin will stick, and that's not a problem at all.
Great.
Next, I'm going to put the swordfish on, and you'll see in about a minute or two, I'm going to move it 90 degrees to give it really cool grill marks, just like in a restaurant.
And obviously we know it's going to taste good, but you also want it to look appetizing and kind of have that look like it is coming from a restaurant kitchen.
Absolutely, because you want it to look great, and it will never look bad, but sometimes it will look spectacular.
Yeah, and that's what you want, of course.
That really is, because everybody likes the bragging rights.
And you don't want them to say, "What is this?"
That's right. You want to say, "I think this was a piece of fish once."
Exactly.
So this way, I'm going to take a moment and turn these around on the grill.
And you don't have to cover the grill top, or cover the grill.
You don't.
With the
If you put the grill down, that's fine.
Okay.
Now another thing also is in just stirring that around, moving that around, we keep it from sticking. If it does get a little blackened, that's fine too.
Right.
Because it's all, grilling outside, it's a relaxed, casual thing.
And it just smells so good, gets you ready to eat, and actually it makes the whole neighborhood hungry.
Yeah,
you know that feeling when you get out of your car in your neighborhood and you smell someone's grilling?
And that's the thing. Sometimes I'll come home and I say, oh, I think they're doing steak over there, and I smell chicken down there.
Maybe I'll get invited.
Exactly. Or go over to borrow a cup of sugar and say, oh, you happen to be grilling. So it works out well that way.
Yes, it does. So we're going to let that cook up, and we'll check back in. Grilling fish. Earlier in the show, we talked all about grilling the perfect fish because, let's face it, a lot of people just don't grill the fish because they're afraid they're going to mess it up.
Absolutely, and this way, by putting it on and watching it and make sure the grill isn't too hot, you don't have to worry about overcooking your fish. You want it moist. You don't want it dried out like a well-done chicken.
But you don't want sushi either. You're trying to have cooked fish, right?
That's exactly it. So that's why we put that on and we put the vegetables on. But first, I want to show you how to take the vegetables out of the pan, because very often, it's a very hot pan. People try and lift the whole thing up. You don't have to do that. All you have to do is just pretty much just use the sides and bring it up, and it'll scoop right out, and you don't have to worry about trying to lift this hot and heavy grill pan. And some of it even goes on the ground when the cameras are rolling.
And that's for the dogs.
Yeah, they're
Fresh
gonna
veggies are good for them.
Exactly. So now we've got a couple of other possibilities. You see here, I've grilled the summer squash and the zucchini. You've got the grill marks on there, so it makes a nice presentation. And here's some of the cooked vegetables. Now here is the shrimp. The difference in the shrimp, when you first put it on, you'll see it curls up. Fish tends to curl up in a ball, and it turns pink around the sides. It's no longer the same clearish
right, it
color.
looks totally different.
And so that's how you can tell that it's done. Now, two things. I've done a couple of things over here. One of them is the swordfish. I've already cut it into the portions, and the other thing is I've got the salmon. Half of it is the portion of salmon, the other half I've broken into pieces. And the reason being, say you have more people than you thought, or if you're taking this out of the freezer, you thought you had more fish than you actually do. What can you do about that? I happen to have here a bowl, and I happen to have here some rice. And it can be hot rice that you just made. It can be rice that came from the fridge. So just throw some rice in the bowl.
That does happen to me a lot. I always wonder if I'm having people over, how do I know if I have enough food? And if you don't, what do you do if you realize, well, that's not going to be enough for 4 people?
Exactly. So just throw in some vegetables, and I've already chopped up a bit of the salmon, and you can throw in some skewered shrimp. Throw it all in. You take the skin out and throw that in, and I'm going to put in a skewer of shrimp.
Oh, so it's like a grilled seafood veggie salad.
Exactly, and this could be, you can do this a day ahead. Cook everything off a day ahead. Serve this chilled. You're sitting out on a hot summer day. What's nicer than cool food, but it's all freshly done and prepared.
And so healthy.
It is. We've got brown rice. This is brown basmati rice. That'll cook up in less than 40 minutes. And you've got the grilled fish here. So now, and so you can have this. You can have it portioned like that. And again, it makes this nice presentation. Everybody loves playing with skewers. I don't know anybody of any age that doesn't like having a skewer on the plate.
That's true.
And then you've got it. And then again with this rice, all this is brown rice, nothing added, no oil, no butter, with some chopped scallions.
That's all it is.
So exactly. So that way you've got your grilled fish. It's cooked to however you want it cooked. I like my fish, especially salmon, to be a little bit opaque. And what that means is it is just about all the way cooked through, but a little bit you can see when you break it open, not cooked through. And you can tell when it's cooked also by you can separate the flaky sections.
Flaky.
It breaks apart easily like that. So if you're unsure what you want to do, let me just grab my little paring knife here. Even on the grill, you don't have to even pull it apart. Just gently pull it and look down to see how it's doing. And so with a flaky fish like the salmon, or even pull apart the swordfish just a little bit, you know, and then it'll go back together, and your guests will never know that you might have been a little unsure in your first attempts at doing this. So you've got all these different ways to see how it's cooked. You've got the grill. Also, if you find that it's cooking too quickly on the grill, turn down one side of the grill and move it over to a cooler side. Just because you put it there to begin with does not mean that has to stay there.
Right.
And say you're not cooking with gas, but cooking with fire, your charcoal grill is always going to have hotter and cooler spots. In theory, a gas grill is more consistent, but always with the charcoal grill. So again, you can just move it to a cooler spot. So this is going to give you the confidence to do it again. When it turns out well, you go, oh, this wasn't as hard as I thought. And then you can play around with these different things like that.
But in terms of timing, rule of thumb is per inch, right?
Per inch of thickness of the fish. So you can see, for instance, I'm just going to lift up this swordfish. And you
Which
can
is about
see,
an inch, would you say?
Yeah, this is just a little bit less. So this was about 8 or 9 minutes or so on the grill. And so, absolutely. And also, if you take it off the grill, it's going to continue cooking, just like if you're roasting a chicken in the oven. So if it gets just about done, take it off, and it'll continue to warm through a little bit. It'll be fine if it goes a moment or two longer. So you've got that kind of flexibility for seeing when it's done.
And that's more like a steak, would you say? Where like a salmon is a flakier fish, and then of course shrimp is just shrimp.
And that's exactly, those are actually called swordfish steaks. So that's exactly it. Even though it had nothing to do with the cow, those are called the swordfish steaks. So
now
yes.
we've grilled the perfect fish. You showed different ways to prepare it. Can't wait to dig in. I'm going to try this fish. I know it's going to be delicious. You made it.